Hello and thank you for subscribing to Infoverse Tech. This is a channel where we explore new trends in technologies, including artificial intelligence, machine learning, cloud computing, Python programming. And today we're going to look at Node-RED. Node-RED is a low-code programming for event-driven applications. It's a very powerful application. And earlier we did record a tutorial where we showed how you could send messages between two systems using a protocol called MQTT. So I'll post the link to that tutorial here. In today's video, we're going to look at a very key core node for Node-RED, which is called Inject node, and we'll see how Inject node can be used to introduce different kinds of data into your system, maybe perhaps for checking or validating or submitting different types of data types in order to validate your Node-RED environment. So let's get started. So as you can see, I'm on the home page of Node-RED, and as it says, it's a programming tool for wiring together hardware devices, APIs, and online services in new and interesting ways. It has over 4,000 different types of options that you can use to connect. So it is a very powerful system, and it finds a lot of use in IoT and IIoT industries. So the first thing we want to do is head over to our Node-RED installation, and I just have a very basic as you can see, flow 3, which I have an inject node and a debug node. So today we're going to look at the inject node and look at all the options that this node has. And as you will see by the end of this tutorial, that it's a very powerful node. It's called a core node, and it is important to understand all the ways you can inject data into your system and check it. So we have a very basic setup. I'll be going through the different options, injecting those data formats, and debug is just there to capture that and to display it on the right hand side to show us what different types of inject modes can do. So let's head over. So I'll just double click here, and it should show me a detail here. So let me start with the first in the drop down list, so a flow. So as you can see here, flow, global, and there's another one called node. These are basically they determine the scope of a particular context, or and the value determines who it is shared with. So as an example, we have 3 different types of scope levels. So node, when you have node, it means it's only visible to the node that sets that value, so very limited. Then you have flow, which is shown here. When you select flow, it's visible to all the nodes on that same flow, or you can see a tab in the editor. So I have flow 1, flow 3, flow 4. So if that is selected, the scope is only within that that flow that you're working on, the active flow. And if you select global here, it's visible to all nodes, right? So if you were to select global here, that same variable or value would be available in flow 1, flow 3, and flow 4 flows here. So that's what these are used for. So let's look at the one that's called string, and in terms of the payload, let us put in something like hello world or hello Infoverse. And so all we're doing is we have a message dot payload, and the value of that is hello comma Infoverse. So let's just say done. And as you know, this indicates that it needs to be deployed. We made some changes, so when we say deploy, it should say successfully deployed. And now we can I've turned on, or I've selected a debug mode, and when I inject this, it should display here. So as you can see, just by setting that up, the debug node can display hello comma Infoverse. That's the text that we're injecting. So very straightforward. But when you're doing some testing or validation, you might need to inject that code and see if that's received as you sent it. Similarly, let's go back and see what's the next option in the down in this list here. So a number. So pretty straightforward. I can select a number, say, let me see, 1 2 3 4 5 6, any random number. Let's save that. Let's redeploy. Okay, let me just, so it seems to be an issue here. Let's go back and see what the issue is. Okay, so I don't think this will take these. Okay, it's just a number. Let's go back. Let's redeploy. And when I hit, you see that same number. So pretty straightforward. But just wanted to show you that. And when I click this, it can show the various data types. So pretty straightforward. We showed that string, we injected a string, we got a string, we injected a number, we got a number on the other side. Let's look at the other one. So the next one is a boolean. So pretty straightforward again. I can select true or false. So let me select true here. When I redeploy and I inject that, I get a true. And similarly, if I go back and I was to change this to false, so when I redeploy it, it's going to give me a false. So just two values, true or false. Let's look at the next one in this drop down list. So this is a JSON, and here what it does, it can if you provide a JSON text, it can convert that into a readable format. So I have something written here. So let's just select that and enter this here, and you can see it needs to be entered within these brackets. So I have that already. So let me just show you here. So just name, just the JSON format, age, vehicle, and let's save this. Let's redeploy, and when you can see that it did process that. And if you look at the object itself, so you have a name, you have age, and you have a vehicle. So it's able to show you the format using the JSON, injecting JSON here. Okay, let's look at the next one. If we just toggle this, you can see it's just a object and then displays the values of that JSON array. Okay, let's look at the next item or next parameter that we can choose. Here it's called buffer. Let me just remove this. So the buffer type is stored as a JSON array of byte values. The editor will attempt to parse the entered value as a JSON array. If it is not valid JSON, it will be treated as a UTF-8 string and converted to an array of the individual character code points. So let's put an example of, let's say, hello InfoWords. Again, let's save that. Let's redeploy, and when let me just clear the screen. So doing like an all and then rerun that. So you get 16 indicating the total number of characters. Let's toggle this to see. So you have hello InfoWords, which is what you injected, and if you toggle this, that's the raw value. And over here you can see that this is all in the format which is the UTF-8 encoding. So basically that's what the editor, the buffer can do, and you can also show it in decimal format, the same value. Let me just double check here. If we go to debug and change this to, let's say, just a message value, redeploy, and when we re-inject, let's see, okay, so yeah, so this time it shows the decimal value, and that's the string value and the raw value as well, right? So you just toggling between raw, string, and the other one, that's the decimal value. You get all the byte values for this piece of data that we're injecting. So again, yeah, we can find various uses for the buffer parameter as well. Let's look at the next one in this list. So we have timestamp. That should be pretty obvious to many. So let's do the redeploy, and when I inject that timestamp, I see a value. I can toggle that to see the internet value, time, and the other time in another format, a UTC format. So just toggling, you can see 4 different types of the timestamp that was passed. Another thing you can do here, which makes sense, is let's say you're doing some testing and you want a timestamp to be sent or updated every, let's say, 5 seconds or every 2 seconds. What we can do is we can select an interval here, and instead of every 1 second, we can, let's say, do 2 seconds, right? And we save this, we redeploy, and let me clear, so we get some fresh values. So when I hit timestamp here, and you can see the indication there, it's going to loop through. So every 2 seconds it's going to inject timestamp. So again, very important or very key capability that we are able to inject a timestamp. Maybe we are testing something that we need this kind of value coming in every 2 seconds, every 1 second, every 5 seconds, or whatever period that we can define. So again, very powerful functionality of this inject node. Let's look at the next one. So let's go back. Let me stop that to say none. So, and you can see from here you have the interval which we did, then interval between times or at a specific time. So very, very powerful way to create that those data points. Now the next one in this drop down list is an expression. So here we can use an expression that is a JavaScript expression. Let's put that here. So all we're doing is a random value and multiplying that by 100, and let's save that first, redeploy. Let me just clean up the debug and let's run that. So when we run that, we get a random number, right? Now let's go back to the timestamp type of an example, and we say, we need this, we're doing some testing, we need this a random number every, let's say, every second as an example. So let's save that, let's do a redeploy, and when I run that, you can see that every second there's a new random number or new number coming in, right? Again, extremely powerful and useful functionality. Let's see, let me just change that a little bit to, so instead of 100, let's say we were looking at some smaller values. So I'm going to save this, redeploy, and when I redeploy, you see that the values are much smaller, right? So basically, these are maybe some different use cases that you need at a smaller value or a higher value. You can change that just by changing that expression that we just saw. Okay, let's look at the next number in line, or next item in line, which is an environment variable. So these are predefined environment variables, like as an example, let me see that, what is the flow name. So, and the convention is to have them in all caps, these variables. So nr flow underscore name. So we know that we are in flow 3. Let me redeploy. So when I run that, I expect it to report that it's flow 3, right? That's what we're asking. What is the flow name? So when I run this, sorry about that, let me just stop that from the previous random number generator, and just do that and redeploy, and let me clean up so you're able to see. So as you can see, simply it's reporting the environment variable, which happens to be flow 3, where we are actively working right now. Now let's go back and let's have a look. So the next one is message, and I'll be creating another tutorial where I'll show how the message, because it comes with number of other options, and we'll see how we can use that. So hopefully this was useful if you're starting with Node-RED, in order to understand how the inject node works. It's very important. We saw how powerful this core node is, and hopefully this was a useful tutorial for you. Do stay tuned. I will be posting more videos and exploring more core nodes, and eventually we will be able to create much more complex flows using Node-RED. So thank you for watching.